Picture this. You're in a therapy session, pouring your heart out, trying to find meaning in your dreams, in your relationships, in your endless overthinking. Your therapist says something that sounds ancient and poetic. You might be projecting your shadow. Or maybe you scroll through your feed and see a post about the inner child, archetypes, or the collective unconscious. Now here's the surprising part. These ideas, still circulating today, were all brought to life over a century ago by Carl Gustav Jung. Jung isn't just a relic of 20th century psychoanalysis. His work, once seen as esoteric, even mystical, is echoing louder than ever in modern psychology, pop culture, spirituality, and personal development. But in a world driven by data, neuroscience, and evidence-based treatments, does Jung still matter? Is his work scientifically valid? Or is it more philosophy than psychology? Let's find out. This is The Unfolding Journey, where we explore the deeper currents of human experience, from ancient myths to modern minds. Each episode is a dive into the ideas, thinkers, and tools that shape our understanding of ourselves. If you're someone who's not satisfied with surface-level answers, who senses there's more beneath our conscious lives, then this channel is for you. Now, let's journey into the mind of Carl Jung and see whether his relevance still holds in the 21st century. Carl Jung, 1875 to 1961, a Swiss psychiatrist, was once Freud's protege and intellectual ally, but their paths diverged. Freud focused on repressed sexuality and the early drives of childhood. Jung envisioned the psyche as more complex, symbolic, and spiritual. He founded analytical psychology, introducing groundbreaking concepts like the collective unconscious, archetypes, the persona, shadow, anima/animus, the self as the center of the psyche, individuation as the process of becoming whole. These ideas weren't just theoretical. Jung developed them through dream analysis, mythological studies, and his own deep introspections, often documented in his mystical and haunting Red Book. Despite his towering intellect and contributions, Jung's ideas fell out of favor in mainstream academic psychology for several reasons. Lack of empirical rigor. Jung's methods were introspective, symbolic, and qualitative. They didn't lend themselves to lab experiments or statistical testing. Mysticism and mythology. His engagement with alchemy, religion, and Eastern philosophies made some see him as more of a mystic than a scientist. Rise of behaviorism and neuroscience. As psychology moved toward observable behavior and brain chemistry, introspective depth psychology was sidelined. But here's where the story gets interesting. Jung never completely disappeared. In fact, he might be more popular today than ever before, but not in the way academia defines relevance. The Jungian revival, where his influence lives on. Let's explore where Jung's work continues to thrive, and why it's gaining ground in modern contexts. 1. Man in lotus position therapeutic practices and coaching. While not always labeled as Jungian, many contemporary practices borrow heavily from his framework. Shadow work is now mainstream in self-help and coaching. Concepts like integration, authenticity, and inner healing often stem from Jungian roots. Many therapists blend cognitive approaches with Jungian ideas about dreams, symbols, and archetypes. Even mindfulness practices often echo Jung's belief in balancing the opposites within ourselves. 2. Artist palette. Art, film, and popular culture. From Star Wars to The Matrix, from Marvel superheroes to indie cinema, Jungian archetypes are everywhere. The hero's journey, coined by Joseph Campbell, but deeply inspired by Jung. The shadow villain or dark twin. The wise old man, trickster, or femme fatale. Writers, artists, and game designers draw from the collective unconscious to craft universally resonant characters. Jung, in this sense, is alive in the stories we tell. 3. DNA neuroscience and psychedelic therapy. Though Jung wasn't a neuroscientist, his ideas have gained unexpected allies in psychedelic-assisted therapy, where patients encounter deep archetypal imagery or ego death. Dream research, where symbolic analysis is regaining interest. Neuropsychology of meaning-making, aligning with Jung's focus on personal narrative and spiritual fulfillment. These emerging fields revisit the symbolic and spiritual dimensions of healing, areas Jung explored long ago. 4. Brain depth psychology institutions. Jungian training centers around the world, like the C.G. Jung Institute in Zurich, Pacifica Graduate Institute in California, and others, still train analysts and conduct research. They focus on long-term psychotherapy, archetypal studies, and creative expression, often blending art, myth, and science. 5. Globe showing Europe, Africa, global spirituality, and personal growth. In the modern wellness and spiritual community, Jung is a giant. Inner child work. Integration of masculine and feminine energies, anima/animus. Shadow integration. Synchronicity and meaningful coincidences. The quest for the true self, or self-realization. These are all Jungian ideas repackaged for a new generation. Even spiritual teachers and influencers often quote Jung, sometimes without knowing it. It's essential to acknowledge the criticisms. Empirical weakness. Many Jungian ideas are hard to measure or test. Vagueness of archetypes. Are they innate, cultural, or both? Overreach. Critics say he blended psychology with mysticism, diluting scientific credibility. And yet, Jung wasn't trying to build a rigid science of the psyche. He saw psychology as part science, part art, part mythology. The psyche is not of today. Its ancestry goes back many millions of years. Carl Jung. In this sense, Jung's psychology may be less about control and more about meaning. Something increasingly relevant in today's world of mental health crises, existential anxiety, and identity confusion. Here's why Jung's relevance may actually be growing in the 21st century. We're spiritually starved. Jung offers a path of depth and meaning that bridges science and soul. We're facing our shadows. Individually and collectively, we're confronting racism, trauma, patriarchy, ecological destruction, all requiring shadow integration. Mental health is evolving. Beyond symptom relief, people seek transformation and authenticity, Jung's specialty. Creativity is thriving. In a world dominated by AI and automation, the symbolic, intuitive, mythic side of our minds matters more. Carl Jung's psychology was never meant to fit neatly into academic categories. He was building a map of the soul, complex, poetic, and unapologetically spiritual. He taught that we are not just minds to be diagnosed, but souls to be explored. He believed healing is not about perfection, but about wholeness. So, is Jung still relevant? Absolutely. Not because he has all the answers, but because he dares to ask the questions we're still wrestling with. Who am I really? What is my purpose? What lies in the darkness within me? And how can I become whole? Jung invites us not just to live, but to unfold. Thank you for watching this deep dive into Carl Jung's lasting impact. If this video sparked something in you, an idea, a curiosity, or even a question, you're already on the path of individuation. Speech Balloon, let me know in the comments. What part of Jung's work speaks to you the most? If you're ready to keep exploring psychology, mythology, and the unconscious mind, don't forget to white heavy checkmark subscribe to The Unfolding Journey. Hit the bell so you never miss an episode. Outbox Stray, share this video with someone who's ready to dive deeper. Until next time, keep questioning, keep reflecting, and keep unfolding.